Welcome back to another episode of How It Works. Hello, my name is Ken Baker from Green Pro Solutions, and today we're going to talk about the pump in a 4500 series Sprinter. Now this pump is a Kappa 140. It pumps 36 gallons a minute, and it's geared towards the motor. I'm going to give a brief overview of the parts and components and service and little things here like that. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about how this interacts with the engine and the pump. There's some misperceptions of if with the engine and how the pump works and so on. I'm going to talk a little bit about proficiency and how your pump should work. So again, this is a Kappa 140. It's 36 gallons a minute. And you have a couple outlets here. The one down here with the white hose is your suction. This is a 1.5-inch suction. And you have an output over here in the back, which is a small manifold. And it has a high pressure line where it pumps in the fluid from here, from your nursing tank, or whatever tank you're pulling from, using your manifold as your distribution. So it's sucking into the pump and it's coming out the back of the pump here with this brass manifold. On top here, you may see here is a green cap. This is your oil reservoir for your pump. Very important to maintain this. I'd encourage you to read the manual and the maintenance from the manufacturer. They recommend that the reservoir and the oil gets changed every 500 hours or every season. What's important about it keeps it lubricated and helps to maintain the longevity of your pump. Now, there's something you don't see. It's on the back side of this. It's a ball, and it's attached to the back side. Now, this is a 3-head pump. The three pistons in this. And some people will say, well, what's that ball that's on the side? And it has a Schrader valve on it. And what that is, it simulates another piston head. It helps the engine run smoother. And it's on the side. Then it requires about 120 psi from your air pump, pressure pump. And the only time you really need to do anything with that is when you rebuild the engine. Now, when you go to rebuild the engine, there are rubber diaphragms in this, and again, that they recommend that every 500 hours, every season, to have those rubber diaphragms replaced. Now, the way the pump works, it's designed to pump water or product through it. And there's some safety features on the manifold, and there's some safety features on the filter and other episodes that we talked about that are vacuum breakers. And though if for some reason you don't open your valves properly, you're not going to get any fluid in there, and it could damage the pump severely. There are safety features on the filter. Again, one of the other episodes, that it's a vacuum breaker. It will suck air. If there's no water there or product, it will suck air for a short period of time. That is not a fail-safe. Now, one of the number one reasons why the pump gets damaged is because on your manifold system or your distribution, you always have to have a suction where the product's going into your pump and a return of where it's going to. So when this pump is running, it's constantly pulling from the tank and returning to the tank in order to keep that flow moving. And if you restrict the return, that water has to go somewhere. And if you don't have a return open, you will blow the heads in here. This is a very expensive pump, and it will instantaneously happen if you do that. Now again, don't get confused. If there's no product and water in it, as long as you have your return open, it's not going to damage your pump short term. The vacuum breaker will suck in air. If you left it running like that for a long period of time, you will damage the pump. So people get confused with that sometimes. So again, your suction has to be open and your return has to be open at all times. There's some people that leave a suction and a return open at all times just as a fail-safe. Because the moment you turn this powerful motor on, it's going to start turning that pump. And if there's no place for that water to go, you'll blow the pump. It's almost instantaneously. So I encourage you to be very, very aware. Look at your manifold to make sure the return is going somewhere. Um, so that's probably the most important feature of the pump, is being aware of that. Now there's a gearbox here, a cylinder type device here. This is a gearbox. And what this is designed to do, it takes the RPMs of the engine, it reduces it for the requirements of the pump to give you your 36 gallons a minute. So this also has a gear oil, which will refer to your manufacturer's instructions, has to be changed as well. So that all this does is interface the engine and the pump. There's really no criteria here, really ever, other than annually just checking the level. And there's a side screw on the other side that you can fill it, and it will drip from this hole here to let you know when it's full. So basically this is maintenance. The gearbox is maintenance free. Now I want to talk about the functionality of using your engine. When you're using your pump, there was an understanding that if you turn your engine all the way as high as it would go, your RPM, you pull out the throttle, you have this thing revving, that it's going to give you more on the output of your pump. That is not the case. This pump is very efficient and is designed to say at 2400 RPMs, this type of engine is designed, and the gearbox will give the ratio that this pump needs to give you your height. Now what determines at say 2400 RPMs for 36 gallons a minute is you have your regulator on your manifold. You can put that to say 200 PSI. Turning at 2400 RPM will give you a certain height in volume depending on your size of your hose and your gun. And again, look at the manual for your manufacturer for suggestions of that. Some of the products themselves also have charts on determining, say if you want a 75-foot tree, a 100-foot tree, and you're trying to achieve that, certain types of guns will give you that, depending on the product, the volume, and the distance. So be aware that you don't need to have your PSI at 700 RPMs when you're doing low bark sprays, you're doing ground sprays or low shrubs or bushes and that type of thing. All you're going to do is waste a lot of product. So that's a skill set in itself that can be trained from your mentor of your business to help you determine what that may be. So as a whole, the engine, the pump, and the gearbox is your overall distribution of your product. This is the heart of the system, and the maintenance of this is very critical each year. This pump is stated that it will last 25 years if you maintain it, change the oil, the diaphragms, and do things as they need to be. So thank you for joining us for another episode of How It Works. Again, my name is Ken Baker from GreenPro Solutions.